Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum.
Yo, you know when you see that logo for an episode of Stacked, it's gonna be a good-ass episode. Welcome back, everyone, to Stacked episode 33. A very special episode of the podcast because, once again, we have a guest. My dear friend, screenwriter, anime fan, Twitter analyst, I don't know, Michael Ben-Iftah is here on the show to talk epic movies. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Wow. What? I mean, did you really have to throw me under the bus by saying I'm an anime fan?
Listen, man.
We all are.
We're all a little group of weebs here. So whenever we get an anime fan on the podcast, I just gotta let everybody know. But
You could say anime is pretty epic. There's some pretty epic anime out there.
there is some pretty epic anime.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
who knows? Maybe we'll see some anime on this episode. We don't know. But of course,
I hope not.
I hope not. I'm joined, as always, with my boys.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Chris.
And that's right. Today we're talking about epic movies. Now, Michael, before we get into our picks, I gotta ask, what made you what was your thought process in saying, for my debut episode on the Stacked podcast, I'm pulling out epic movies? What was your reasoning behind it?
So, I'm a huge Family Guy fan, okay? And I love Family Guy. And there's this amazing, and one of Peter Griffin's, key slogans is, okay, this is epic,
That's true.
And because I'm such a Family Guy fan, I mean, in all seriousness, I don't know. I just enjoy stories that are, epic in a sense. I'm usually a fan of those kind of stuff. I like, the crazy battles or the lots of characters, the 7-hour length fucking features. I enjoy all that stuff, and I feel like it's kind of like a topic where you can define an epic movie, but it's really hard. It's a very vague definition. And I think that's fun.
The term epic can just be it's used for so many things these days, beforehand, epics were used for these grand, sort of almost biblical stories, you think of the 10 Commandments or something like that as an epic movie, or some sword and sandals films. But now epic's sort of been taken up by the gamers, if you will. Gamers been using the word for epic for a lot of different things, So I think this episode we're going to see a lot of classically epic movies from our picks, but also, I don't know, someone might toss in a movie that may not seem epic in someone else's, point of view, but that's what this show is for us to break down why these movies are epic. Boys, Brandon, Chris, what was your thought process behind making a list of epic movies?
For me, I kind of took the sword and sandals approach.
Yeah.
There are certain movies that warrant an epic nature. There are films that are so huge in their scope and scale of what they tackle that it's hard to ignore them. You can take a sci-fi epic or a swords and sandals epic approach, or you could do something totally different and a movie you just find epic because of the visuals of everything. It doesn't have to be a 3-hour movie if you don't want to. Now, all of mine just happen to be that length, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm a weird guy like that.
Right.
Yeah. For me, it was, I think, kind of similar to Brandon in the sense of a lot of these movies that I chose very much have something to do with an enhanced sense of scale and scope. There's a lot of there's a great sense of awe-inspiring visuals and a lot of I don't know, I guess when I say epic, I imagine movies or whatever that have huge implications and impact for whatever world or story that they're telling. So it's kind of the opposite of shall I say, an intimate character piece. It's the antithesis of that. Not to say those two can't be married together, but it's there's a difference between say a movie I don't know, the movie Her, or say a giant space opera kind of thing.
Right.
So, it's kind of like trying to figure out that far end of the spectrum to see like what lies there. And yeah, that's how I kind of went about it.
I don't know about you, but Her's pretty epic to me.
I
Well, it's
mean,
very personally epic. Yeah.
if you're a gamer and you want a robot like iPhone girlfriend, that's pretty epic,
Yeah.
So that's going back to the subjectivity of the word epic.
Yeah.
But hey, we shall see. We shall see. So before we kick off our picks, let me just run down the rules of the show, and then we'll get into the glorious epic movies. So once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. So, Michael, our esteemed guest, please kick us off with your first epic movie.
Wow, this is I'm honored. I can feel the pressure mounting on me. This is an epic decision I've been given, and I can't let it down. So I guess for my first pick, I'm gonna choose a bit of a. It's a pretty epic movie. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think too many people know about it. And I think that it's not like in the filmography of this director. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, which is a shame because I think it's a really great movie, and that is Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America. It is a very it is a really great film. It is a crime epic. It's got everything you need. It's got Robert De Niro, James Woods. I'm pretty sure even Joe Pesci is in it. So you got all the guys you need.
Wow.
It's like 3 hours long or something. It's actually like such an amazing movie. Like the cinematography in that film is like fantastic. It spans like decades. It goes from like the early 1920s in the US to, sometime in the 70s. So you get that really like grand time scale. It has like really great performances. And also, just a small part, it's about Jews. And as a fellow Jew, I always like to see more Jews in movies.
That's true. More Jews in movies.
Italians weren't the only guys who were running crime syndicates in the United States in the Prohibition era, okay? We're doing some cool shit too.
Yeah, like in Hollywood. No, I'm just kidding. Bring out our second guest, Alex Jones, everyone.
Oh, God. No. I wasn't prepared.
The chemicals in the water.
Listen, I love Sergio Leone and I love his westerns, and I have yet to see this film, and I'm killing myself over and over again because of it. Because this sounds epic. I'm not too sure what like exactly goes on in this movie, but just hearing that it takes place over multiple generations, seeing how America came to be and stuff like that, and it's got some of the all-time great actors of gangster movies and crime movies. Like, that sounds pretty epic to me, You nailed the definition.
I mean, it's if you think about it, maybe I don't know, maybe this is a spoiler, but it's actually in many ways quite similar to The Irishman. I don't know if anyone shows that. So I'm sorry, but I mean, both of them star like Robert De Niro, and going like playing off like another sort of mobster character. In this one, it's James Woods' character, and the other one, it's Al Pacino's. Both span like that kind of history. They're honestly very similar, and I actually really like both. But I feel like this movie came before, and I have this eking suspicion that I feel like there's no way that they could have made The Irishman, not knowing how sometimes similar it could come across to Once Upon a Time in America.
Right.
And also there's just something about like some of the just the way that movie is made, and the fact that that was his last movie, that I just feel like there's something about it when I watched it. Like it's I honestly have like the patience of a gnat. Like like I don't have a lot of patience, but like I was engrossed in this movie the entire time. Like I couldn't stop watching. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like for me, like I've only ever seen one of Sergio Leone's films, which is Good, Bad, and Ugly. And I remember
which is pretty epic.
Yeah, that's a pretty epic movie. But Yeah, I mean, like Once Upon a Time in America is one of those movies that's like always kind of like been in like the back of my mind. Like I've always known this movie existed, and like it's been sitting in my watch list like for a while. And yeah, I like immediately, Ben, after you like described this movie, it immediately occurred to me like this kind of sounds like The Irishman, and like The Irishman is kind of like known as like a quintessential gangster epic, even though it's very new. So like to have that parable between that and this, I think kind of speaks to like the quality of this selection as an epic gangster film. So
Right.
I mean, like, I don't know anything about this movie beyond what you just told me, but it does sound very much like, quintessential definition of what is an epic gangster film.
Yeah. Brandon?
Um, I haven't seen it yet. It is on my watch list because it is one of the few Sergio Leone movies that are at least huge that I haven't seen yet. I've seen two of his Man with No Name trilogy. I've seen Once Upon a Time in the West, which I'm not a big fan of, to Ethan's chagrin. Uh, but I am aware of this movie. I have heard it's a very good immigrant story, as well as a crime story in a sense, which does make it interesting. I think the length, and I'm not one to be intimidated by length usually, but this is longer than like a 3.5 hour epic. I think it's a little longer than that even, because I have a DVD for the film, and it's 2 discs. So that's
Oh.
intimidating right there. Whenever a movie has 2 DVD discs or Blu-ray discs, I say, hold up, I need to take a day for this, and I haven't had that day yet. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Oh man. All right. Well, that is a great way to kick off this episode. So I'm
Well,
going.
can I toss in one more fact?
Absolutely.
Also,
Go
it's
ahead.
scored by Morricone, so
Of course.
the soundtrack is just
You know
killer.
it's gonna
Our
bump.
king.
Our king, the king of the scores.
You know
Yeah.
who's our queen?
Who?
Betty White.
Shut up.
Betty White is our queen. Ennio Morricone is our king.
In this house, we praise old people. All right.
Respect
Joe
to
Biden.
uh, yeah. Sleepy Joe's not so sleepy anymore. Let's just say that. Let's go. Shut up. All right. So my first pick for epic movies, I picked 2 relatively longer films. I think, that in my sense don't feel over an hour when I watch them's. When I watch them's movies, you know.
The movie.
Them movies. This first film I watched it the first time in freshman year of college with my roommate Sellers. Shout out, friend of the show Sellers. And I remember we sat down and watched it, and all this time flew by, and I was shocked that much time flew by when we watched it. And that is the 1954 samurai epic directed by Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai.
Yes. This movie, of course, Akira Kurosawa style. It's funny we mentioned, Sergio Leone beforehand. Like, he's often come out saying that, like, how inspired he is by the works of Akira Kurosawa, and how, like, samurai films and his westerns, sort of are quite similar in terms of their themes, but also in terms of like how they're shot and depicted. I think the honor of a samurai in these films are quite similar to like the unspoken honor of cowboys in the West in Sergio Leone's epics. This movie's great. I mean, it gives you a large cast of samurai and their goal just to defend this town. And we get all sorts of personalities. Of course, we get Mifune as like the sort of unhinged and more crazy samurai, and we get Shimura as like the wise sort of leader of this group, and it's just, this movie is completely enthralling to see them come together, these samurai, and then defend this town, and then the last act is just them pulling off this big battle. And man, it doesn't feel over an hour to me, even though it's 207 minutes. It's a great film. What do you guys think about Seven Samurai?
Good movie. It's a
Yeah.
good movie. I think I watched this movie when I was like 12, for the first time.
Oh,
So
really?
that's wild. You know, you don't expect a 12-year-old who lives in America to watch this movie. But
Yeah.
but what I find so impactful about it is this universal story about, it's very classist in the way that it depicts these people who are trying to essentially look over the city as like guardians. You know, it's a reverse Robin Hood in a sorts, because they're giving to the poor and not taking from the rich necessarily,
Taking
but they're able
lives.
to, yeah. I guess they're like protecting in a way, right?
Yeah.
But the way the samurai interact with each other, they've got a lot of good chemistry. I think they've also got a lot of great relationship. Like because Magnificent Seven, which I definitely relate to more because I lived in a Western state and such, literally Arizona. Hello. Like they relate to each other similarly because they are, well, Magnificent Seven's based upon Seven Samurai, but I think Seven Samurai is so fascinating because of the way it depicts the samurai way of life. With cowboys, there really isn't necessarily a way of life, but with the samurai in this, they are very much devoted to their craft. You know, it's much deeper than it goes in the other previous one that I mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, like I've been on a weird I think like somewhere in the middle of 2020 I was on a really random like samurai kick. I was really watching a lot of like Kurosawa's films, and I played like the entirety of Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that, and like I really found myself like fascinated by, you know, samurai lore and like their code of honor, and just like trying to understand like who these people were and stuff like that. And I think it's articulated really well by Akira Kurosawa, who is like kind of the, I don't know, like a magnum opus of a director who like everyone, regardless of like what kind of films you make, everyone seems to respect Kurosawa to some degree at least. And I think like, you know, Seven Samurai isn't my favorite of his works, but it's definitely like, you know, I mean, at least as far as I've seen, Kurosawa has yet to make a bad movie.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
yeah, like he's consistently made quality work, and this is in like top 3 for me. I think my favorite's Ron, but Seven Samurai, like, nonetheless is like his classic. It's like it's kind of like, you know, every director has their own like the movie they're known for, in the
Right.
sense of like how, say, Tarantino's known for Pulp Fiction, or Nolan's known for
Hitchcock is
Dark
known
Knight,
for
Hitchcock
Psycho.
for Psycho, yada yada yada. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
And Kurosawa known for Seven Samurai, and rightfully so, because yeah, and also the movie's fucking epic. It's huge, and like I feel like when this movie was made, 1954, I don't feel like we've ever seen anything like this at the time. This sense of grandeur and scope. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that at the time. So yeah, good pick, Ethan. Ben, what do you think? Oh, sorry, Michael
Ben-Iftah.
Ben-Iftah. Sorry,
You're
Ben-Iftah.
good. You're
Hey,
good. That
Ben-Iftah,
happens
what do you
to
think?
me very, very often. I'm about to drop a bomb by saying I've actually not seen this movie.
Woo!
What?
I
Oh,
know.
man.
I've only seen 2 of his works. One being like the one that we all had to watch in class, which was Rashomon, and then Throne of Blood, which is really fun. But
Throne of
I've
Blood is
actually
great.
not seen this. I've personally been very intimidated by its length as well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been on my list, and I think he's a great director. I want to watch that, and I also want to watch Ran. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it as well, because it looks cool, and he honestly hasn't made, and it also looks, in terms of Ran, it also looks very colorful. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Seven Samurai, it's on the
Beautiful.
list. There's so many movies.
I
For
know.
me, I
He-
think. Go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, Akira Kurosawa's filmography is such an intimidating thing to like go through, because he does have like he has like 10 movies that are like over 2.5 hours. You're just like, how am I supposed to fit all this into my schedule? You know, like.
Awkward.
Sorry, you say, Brent?
I was gonna say that Seven Samurai is more epic to me for its characters than for its scope and scale.
Right.
Like, I feel like there are some films in early Hollywood or even some early Japanese pictures that are a little larger or around the same scale as Seven Samurai.
Mhm.
But I think what really stands out to me is the passage of time in this movie and the exploration of these characters rather than the action sequences, which are good. Don't get me wrong. They're good. But
Right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens, Brandon, because you're up next with your first epic movie.
I got a controversial pick for my first movie.
Oh no! Don't
D.W. Griffith.
No!
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
no, fuck it.
I'm just kidding. I don't like him. I don't like his movies.
Hangs up the poster. He's like, I took it from Doc.
I took it. David.
stole it
David
from
Desser
Dodge.
signed it. I love David. No. I picked 1939's Gone with the Wind.
Ah, man.
Okay.
This was the first epic movie I ever saw. I think it was like 6 or 7 at my grandma's house. And I picked it out of like the DVD case. It was like a really wintry morning in Williams, Arizona. Let me paint that picture for you guys. And there's this young boy. He gets up from before anybody else does at like 6 a.m. And little boy. And I sneak up to my grandma's VHS shelf and I'm like, what's this movie? And it's this 2 VHS pack of Gone with the Wind. And I put it in and my parents wake up like an hour later. So I'm an hour into this movie and they're like, you're watching Gone with the Wind? What the hell is this? Huh? You're a kid. What are you doing?
Yeah,
I've never seen a kid like this movie or watch this movie. And from the beginning, I was fascinated by the way this film depicts history. I've been always a fan of history. Big fan.
You're that kind of history guy, yeah.
Yeah, I love history. I love history and politics and such like that. But the way this film dissects the relationships formed by the Civil War and the effects of that on people, I found to be amazing and fascinating. I love the film. I love the way it basically spans over that period and a little bit into the antebellum period afterwards, and how this war has basically had some people profiteer off of it and some other people suffer. Now, I think you can get into the film a lot about the content. I mean, there is a lot of like dated aspects about the movie, of course, in the way that it presents slavery and some people who are African American or Black. But I think as a movie as a whole, it's a historical artifact that shouldn't be ignored. It's definitely not like a D.W. Griffith movie where he like sort of glorifies that time. There is some glorification of it here, but I think the way it ends up with its characters really like says something that is like damning. Like it's a damning indictment of them rather than a glorification.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen this film, but Chris, you have.
Yeah.
What
So
about Gone with the Wind?
yeah. So like Gone with the Wind. Like I remember watching this. I think like, man, when was the last time I watched this? I think it was like sometime towards the last couple months of high school. I saw this movie, and like I was of course being a young film student at the time, incredibly impressed with like its brilliant technical feats and script and all that. But like I also do remember being kind of like taken aback by its like pro-Confederate propagandic like components.
Are you saying I'm a pro-Confederate, Chris?
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, you fucking Arizona. Yeah, you fucker. Yeah. No,
We weren't even a state yet.
Dixie.
We weren't even a state. 1912, bitch.
But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, like, there's not much. Like, I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, that was what I latched onto. I was very latched onto its technical feats as a giant piece of production in, when was the movie? Like the 30s, 39.
39.
Yeah, which is, again, fucking huge. At the time, movies just weren't big like that. Like, it was rare. Like, super spectacles were big deals back then. And it was always a huge feat of, like, technical marvel to be able to see that kind of stuff. Obviously, as time has gone on, especially with, just the way things have developed, this movie hasn't aged particularly well in terms of its content, but also I will like agree with Brandon in the sense of like in terms of we're looking at this specifically as an epic film, I would say in terms of scope and scale, I would definitely agree because its script and its scope is quite large.
There's a scene, I think it's the burning of Atlanta. I could be wrong, but there's a scene like that where they literally burned down a whole town for real. It wasn't like I don't think it was even a studio set. Like they burned down a town. There was also a scene where like they're like Scarlett O'Hara, her character is walking through this field, or not field, but this town of bodies of fallen soldiers. And yes, I think it could be read as a sympathetic film to the cause of the Confederacy, which is where it falters, but I think it cannot be ignored in terms of its scale, like Chris said.
Wow. Yeah. Michael, have you seen it?
I have not seen this movie. My mom says it's good though, so you got a rousing review right there.
My grandma liked it too. Yeah.
Although now, like, were you guys talking about like the burning of Atlanta and like the Confederate sympathizing? I just start like thinking about like all the General Sherman memes.
The March to the Sea.
No, about like all the memes of like General Sherman just like burning down the South. There's like this good one where he's like, "Oh, you don't like this country? Well, then maybe you should just go back to your own." Oh wait.
Holy shit.
That movie needs to be a Gone with the Wind 2, but from the General Sherman perspective.
There is a Gone with the Wind 2.
Down the South.
Then Gone with the Wind 3.
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Grease 2 is my second film.
That's an iconically long movie, so not surprised it's made its way onto this episode. Chris, take us into your first epic.
Cool. Well, I also just realized that all of my picks are from the 21st century, and so far we've only done 20th century stuff.
Oh, so nice.
We're gonna switch it up a bit, but Ethan, I'm really glad that you mentioned an Akira Kurosawa film, because my first pick is from a director who took very much inspiration from Akira Kurosawa when he created his films.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the first film that I'm going to present was made in 2005, directed by George Lucas. It's Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith.
Whoa! Yeah,
now,
that's epic.
Okay, I remember thinking about why I chose this film as opposed to any of the other Star Wars films. Like, what makes this so much more epic in comparison to all these other films, where every time it's always the fate of the galaxy rests in the hands of the characters. Right. So what makes this one special? But I think for me, what made this so special are two things. One, the story of Anakin. I think he has an incredible story. His fall from brave Jedi Knight to Dark Lord of the Sith is incredibly iconic. Everyone knows the story of Anakin Skywalker because his fall as being the chosen one to the one that quite literally throws the galaxy into an authoritarian regime is incredibly captivating. And there's such a sense of the politics. You get a sense of how the galaxy is shaped and reformed throughout this film. The way Palpatine manipulates the Senate in order to take power and become Supreme Chancellor and eventually the Emperor is such a monumental event for this universe. And every time I watch it, I can't help but think this is the biggest event that this galaxy has ever known. The world, the entire billions of planets are being reformatted because of what happens in this movie. And also, the emotional stakes are huge. I feel everyone always says Obi-Wan is the best part of this film, mm-hmm. or these films. And I agree. I think Obi-Wan's, and I always feel Obi-Wan's pain every time I watch this film, because I can see how much it haunts him that his Padawan and very, very best friend fell so deeply into the dark side and, just turned the galaxy on its head because of it. And
his failure.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just think it's so emotionally captivating and epic in that sense, but also epic in literal sense of scope. I mean, have you ever seen the Star Wars universe feel so large? Because I think that's one thing the prequels do really well. I think they do a great job of showing us how big this universe is and how everything is impacted once the Skywalkers do anything. Because that's the funny thing about Star Wars, I feel like. It's really just one family screwing over the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's like the Trumps.
Don't say his name.
Chosen one, Donald.
No, yeah, Chris, I got, it's the prequels are it's a pretty murky waters, if you ask me, in terms of quality. Of course, Phantom Menace is still my favorite, just purely based off of sentimental reasons. Brandon shaking his head. I know. I can totally see why people hate that movie and why it's this
I don't hate
absolute
it.
snooze fest. But in terms of like, I don't want to say objective because there's no such thing as something being objective in film, but it's it's the most understandably good prequel movie, I would say. And I think a lot of it has to do with sort of, like you said, sort of George Lucas's like inspirations from Kurosawa and like the dramas that Kurosawa would make, like especially Throne of Blood or something like that, which of course is Shakespearean. So a lot of Shakespeare can be seen through the Star Wars universe, which I really appreciate. And you're right, the scale is, I have to agree, I don't think it's ever been bigger. Like, I mean, Rise of Skywalker tried to be big, but you're just like, I don't believe in any of this, especially towards the end. So like, but
Yeah.
when, but even the first
That
sequence,
movie's a big flop.
yeah, it's an epic failure. That's what I would say.
Put the Godzilla meme. Put the Godzilla facepalm meme.
Epic fail.
Epic fail. 2019 epic fail number 7. Rise of the Skywalker.
Actually, it's number 1, but we're gonna.
No, but I was saying the first intro, like the intro sequence of the film, is like this big space battle over Coruscant. You see these giant ships going into each other, and Anakin and Obi-Wan weaving through them. You haven't seen a spectacle like this from the franchise yet. That's this big. You know, you've seen Death Star battles, but that's been a bit more smaller scale. You know, there's only been a few ships, maybe Return of the Jedi, but yeah. And then you go through this whole film that's just full of tragedy. I mean, the acting may not be that great at some points, like Hayden Christensen, you can take him or leave him, you know. George Lucas, he's not really an actor's director that we know. But yeah. he's quite a visual director, because the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar is one of the greatest moments in all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
because
and that sequence being intercut with Yoda versus Palpatine and Coruscant.
Yes.
Like, that's such an intense dichotomy between those two battles. Because you're quite literally fighting. Those battles are like, whoever wins those battles determines the fate of the galaxy.
Exactly.
And it
and
doesn't get bigger than that.
And John Williams just like pulls all his shit out on this movie. Like, I mean, it's no Duel of the Fates, but like, what is it called? I think it's called Battle of the Heroes. Is the song? I don't remember what it's called.
I don't know. Yeah,
it's a great piece of music, a great orchestral score. Michael, what do you think of Revenge of the Sith?
It is. I agree with you, Ethan. It's definitely the most understandably good of the prequels. I think the prequels are. It's a very controversial movies, because I think that Lucas had a lot of really good intentions and a lot of interesting ideas, but that throughout the trilogy, you could tell that he was not, in my opinion, the best at executing those ideas at times. I think that the reason that Revenge of the Sith works compared to like the other two, especially I think Attack of the Clones, which I think is the weakest, is that I think you finally get to see the culmination of all that's like been going on in his head, in a sense. So it's like the road there is very rough, but there is definitely there is a lot of good payoff, and it is a very epic movie. I mean, like, in terms of scale, I mean, from what I've been told, galaxies are pretty big, so I guess that is quite the scale. But I do have problems with that with the movie, both visually and also some acting decisions and stuff like that. But it's a fun time, and it's funny that you bring it, because my roommate was actually watching it I think last week.
Really?
And I was like in and out of it. Yes. So you're bringing back so many memories.
Well, I think like what's really good about this movie is that I think the only thing that compares to it in the Star Wars universe is Rogue One in terms of scale, mainly because of the director involved in that one. But in this movie, I think what sets it apart from the other Star Wars movies is, and spoilers here, for anybody who hasn't seen it, the bad guys win. Bad guys never really win in Star Wars. They win their small battles, but they never win the big one. So this is like the rise of the totalitarian government and like the biggest failure in the history of that universe, essentially. And that's really, really interesting. And I think it is grand and Shakespearean because on that scale, you have these giant space battles, and there are people spread out from planet to planet. Whereas usually in a Star Wars film, you focus on one or two, maybe one or two at a time. But like in this movie, it's like you have a vast wave, and you really get the sense that this is affecting the grander universe. Like look at the Order 66 scene, or the scene on Mustafar, for example, with all these different races of aliens who are basically discussing whether or not they should like follow through with the trade republic or whatever that they're working on. Essentially, I think it's a really fascinating film in that sense, and you really get the sense of what's happening is going to change everything, and that is very rare to capture in a movie and have it be as succinct and personal as it is. And I also have issues with this movie, but Revenge of the Sith is the best prequel, and that's like hands down, like I think what everybody would consider except for Ethan.
Yeah, in my own weird way, but I totally I get the popular consensus. I'm not gonna argue with anyone about this, you know.
Phantom Menace has become so like hated that it's becoming underrated, though. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, but I don't think it's a good movie, but I also think there's a lot to like there.
I get that. I understand. Let people hate that movie. I don't give a fuck. Let me just watch Jar Jar and be happy and get high, you know? Whatever. All right, Michael, let's go into the second round here. Take us in your second pick.
Yeah. Well, I've been bouncing a couple things off my head, and I'm a little worried that that either everyone's picked this movie or no one's picked this movie. But you know what? Life's about taking chances, you know? You gotta go on a limb. You gotta take a chance. Jump into the void or something like that. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Is it like Mike?
So I'm exactly. So I feel like I feel like this movie has to be mentioned on this list because I can't think of a movie that perfectly captures the epic scale visually in a sense better than this. And I believe the date is it's 1967. David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia.
Ooh,
Oh,
love it.
I can't think of a better movie in that captures scale. Like there are certainly larger movies that take place, and there may be better acted movies, and there may be movies that do not kind of age kind of weird because all the white people play Arab people, which is a little strange. But there is something about the way that movie is shot that you just look at it and you're like, wow, okay, this is epic, Like you just like those vast vistas in that movie are breathtaking. They're really breathtaking. And I think David Lean is probably like his middle name should just be Epic, like David Epic Lean, because he just understands how to capture scale, both in terms of storytelling and also in terms of visuals. And that's certainly his most iconic film. It also has a great performance by Peter O'Toole, as well as some other veteran actors. We're talking about Star Wars. The guy escapes my name at the moment, but he's in this movie, and he's the guy who plays Ben Kenobi in the
Alec Guinness.
Alec.
Yeah, Allen Guinness is in this movie. He's really
Alec
great,
Guinness.
and also it's got a hell of an epic score.
Oh,
That like you just hear that, you just think about that movie and you can just hear like the score. It's like it's like almost as iconic as like I'd say like any Star Wars or something from like Morricone. It just stands out to you. So yeah, I just felt like this movie ought to be mentioned at this list.
you're 100% correct. Yeah, we went way in depth in the score on our scores and soundtracks episode because it is so beautiful and so grand and iconic to cinema history, oh man, I love Peter O'Toole, man. I just he's a great guy.
Beautiful.
He's a great guy, man. But I remember watching this movie when I was
He's
a
no
kid with my
tool.
dad. He's
not a tool. Yeah,
he's not a
that's
tool.
true.
Peter
No tool.
O'Toole is no tool. Let's just say that. No, but like, it's such just a grand sweeping film, and when I saw this as a kid, like I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but when I saw, I was shocked that this was 5 hour, like not 5 hours. This is a 5 hour long movie.
It's
No,
like-
this what is it like?
It's like 4.
4 hours.
It's
Yeah.
like 4. Yeah.
I thought it was just a normal movie when we finished it, and then my dad's like, "Yeah, that was 4 hours. Did you know that?" And it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was like 12 years old. I was like, "Wow, cool." But yeah, this is another movie that like I like not a second is wasted, and you don't feel its length. And I love this movie. What do you guys think?
Adore is the word I would use for this movie. I was gonna pick this movie up until right before the podcast, and then I remembered there is another movie that exists that I wanted to put on this list, and because we already talked about it, I wanted to take it off. So we almost had a double stack, but I love this movie. There is a lot to say about the character in this movie who plays the leader, his like little God complex that he has, but how he really is in it for the right reasons here. He's really in this revolutionary spirit for the right reasons. Not only that, but the interconnected relationships you have with Omar Sharif's character and Peter O'Toole's character is really fascinating to dissect because they have very different ways about going about things, but they both like love and hate each other at the same time. And that's really awesome to explore in this environment that is real. This is like a real freaking desert, dude. Like they went to Arabia or like Africa and filmed on
Arabia?
Sahara. Lawrence of Arabia, right?
Yes, they went to the town of Arabia.
No, I did not say this town.
I know.
Country. but they really filmed there, and you get the sense that like there is like this real like you get the sense that you're really there when you watch the movie. I have like the ultra remastered edition of this movie, and just popping it in and watching the sunset or the sand dunes and the wind blow across, or that great train sequence.
Oh yeah.
There is like nothing
100%.
like it in cinema. The David Lean should be assigned an epic movie and an epic title because of what he's done for cinema.
So I'm the only one here who hasn't seen this movie, which is a crime considering I'm a cinematographer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess the only thing I can contribute to this discussion is like in like a lot of my cinematography classes and just chatting with other cinematographers, you have the iconic classic like cinematography like masters with like Jordan Cronenworth with Blade Runner or Vittorio Storaro with Apocalypse Now. And Freddie Young, who's a cinematographer for this movie, is renowned as like one of the greatest cinematographers of classic style. He's like one of the few that popularized like 70 millimeter celluloid, which is very rarely used, even today. Only really used by like the directors who the studios are willing to put forward money for it, because obviously very expensive. Really only used by Nolan and Tarantino nowadays. And yeah, he does a beautiful job with it. Like I've seen stills and countless clips of it. I have no idea what this movie's even about, but you know, there's such a sense of like sweeping vistas right from the get-go, and I think it remains pretty consistently like large in scope and scale throughout. Granted, yeah, I kind of lean towards more like contemporary stylizations of cinematography.
All right, let him talk.
Sorry, I was thought
I lost my train of thought already. Okay, I completely lost it.
It's a good movie.
I'm sure you're having an epic thought, Chris.
Yeah, thanks.
The epic thought is gone. Thanks, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for your re shit.
All right.
I'm Scooby Dooby Doo.
Listen, if you think of that thought while we're going into our next movie, Chris, you can bring it back up. All right. So,
Sure.
All right. So going into my second pick, this is a 90s movie, and something that I love about epics is when a director takes a certain historical figure and displays a cinematic experience about their life, you know, and that it comes from director Spike Lee, Malcolm X. I love this movie. I saw this movie last summer. I threw it on. I was like, all right, I know this is a 3-hour long movie, but like, I gotta check this out, because I think I just watched The Five Bloods and I was like, I gotta check out more Spike Lee. So I threw it on and I was floored. Like, again, not a minute is wasted in this movie depicting the life of one of the most important figures in the civil rights movement, you know? And it's a very important movie too because of how Malcolm X was depicted in the media during this like before this movie really came out, you know? He was seen as a rather like radical figure, even though yes, he is a radical figure, but they were seen as like he was seen as a menace. But as Spike Lee shows throughout this movie, like a lot of his ideas still hold till today and like are used today. So I mean, come on, Denzel Washington, he is great in this movie. All the performances are great in this movie. And yeah, what can I say? Not a minute wasted. That was just like my biggest takeaway. Not a minute wasted. What do you guys think of Malcolm X?
I also checked it out at Ethan's behest. I had it on DVD, but again, it's sometimes a daunting movie when the length is there. But during summer, we had a lot of time locked up in quarantine. I was like, finally, I got to check this out. And I think the word that I could best describe it as, other than epic, is haunting, because of how history has sort of viewed Malcolm X. Like, I remember learning about him in school, and obviously we were taught more about Martin Luther King than we were about Malcolm X. But I think the way that this film certainly gives him the limelight in this civil rights discussion is very interesting, because you don't really know a lot about his history and like what he's been through. He's a very fascinating individual to sort of examine, which is why I was a little bit disappointed in One Night in Miami, but I still like the movie. But to move on to Malcolm X, I think you delve into his personal ideologies and how that sort of formed throughout years of failure and anger and distrust in the system that has kind of abandoned him.
Right.
And I think one of the best parts about this movie is its last 20 or 30 minutes. Because of how it builds to this like a very emotional conclusion, because everybody knows what happened to him, even if you don't know his total life story. And in that sense, it builds to a crescendo, and his ideas, although controversial, have inspired this like rising up of his ideology again. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. I think it's great to have somebody who is a revolutionary in terms of civil rights be the head of this new movement that's happening now, centered around Black Lives Matter.
Of course. Michael, Chris, you guys seen Malcolm X, or do you know who he is? No, I'm just kidding.
Who?
I know his brother, Malcolm Y.
What?
Is that
dumb joke.
that ABC Family show Kyle XY? That's his brother.
What? What is that?
Don't worry about it.
I have not seen this movie, unfortunately. I've wanted to, though. When I heard about it and I saw some reviews about it, it looks like a very fascinating movie. I feel like I want to know more about Malcolm X. I want to see more of Spike Lee's filmography. I honestly haven't. I think I've only seen like BlacKkKlansman. And I think this is certainly one that they don't talk about as much as I think like Do the Right Thing, but I hear like that it's a really great movie. And it's really been on my list. And it's on Swank, so I could even see it this weekend, you know?
Hell yeah. I think it's on Netflix too, maybe. Yeah.
Is
Pop
it?
it in.
Oh, damn.
I mean, that's where I watch it. They might have taken it off, but if it's on Swank, you know, those free movies given to us by Chapman, hell yeah. Go for it.
Thank you, Chapman. Very cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie either, but I was fortunate enough that in my high school, at least at the time, like none of the stuff we were learning was regulated by the government. So I was fortunate enough to go to a private school, and part of our curriculum in history class was always learning about world history. And when we focused in on American history, we did learn about the civil rights movement, and we equally learned about Malcolm X and MLK, which I thought was really cool, because I've come to learn that at least in the States, I feel like am I correct to say like in public school at least, people tend to learn mostly about Martin Luther King rather than Malcolm X?
I definitely
for whatever
say
reason.
So. Yeah.
You'd
100%.
learn he was assassinated, and you'd learn that he was a little bit more
radical,
confrontational and radical than Martin.
And that's it. So
that's weird. Like that's really odd to me, because I feel like equal figurehead, like opposing but nonetheless somewhat like equal figureheads in the conversation about blackness in America.
Yeah.
And yeah, like so I haven't seen this movie, but I know at least a little bit about Malcolm X's life and his story. And, the story alone is already monumental implications for, the world and especially America for its time too. So, I can only expect great things from this movie, especially given Spike Lee's directing. I mean, I've seen Black Klansman, Do the Right Thing, and Defy Bloods, all of which I was impressed by. Um, I would say he's never made a bad movie, but I've seen his remake of Old Boy, which I
Oh.
hate.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But yes, I
We'll
have
get
faith
into
that
it?
this is a good. I won't get into that.
Okay.
But yeah, I have every faith that Malcolm X is one of his better films, and I fully believe that this is pretty epic. So
Definitely in length and time, for sure.
Hell yeah. Well, Brandon, take us in your number 2.
Well, I'm glad that Chris had brought up Ran. Or yeah, because I'm going to pick Ran by Kurosawa.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Wow.
This is my favorite Kurosawa movie, hands down.
I think
Maybe
it's Desser's too.
Ah,
Shout out to
oh, yeah.
our professor, David Desser,
our king.
our king.
the king.
Sign the poster, love David. Ran is okay. I think Seven Samurai is one of my least favorite Akira Kurosawa movies, and saying that is like sacrilege, and I like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
But Ran to me encapsulates everything about Star Wars and Shakespeare that I love. It finds this tragedy. I think it's based on King Lear, a Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
And I've never read the play. I've never even heard of the play's story. And then I watched this movie, and I remember being so enthralled by it. This is one of Chris's favorite movies of all time. And honestly, the scale of the characters, like in the battles in this movie, are epic. The cinematography is epic. Like, there's not a frame that does not matter in this movie. And that's saying something for a movie that is 4 hours long. And when I watched it this past summer, I was emotionally moved by the characters, but it did not, and it was not at the they didn't like forget the characters in service of a larger like scope. They had the bigger moments, but they had the personal moments too that made those big moments matter even more.
Right.
And the ending of this movie is heartbreaking in a lot of different ways. I can't get enough of it. There's so much I could say.
Ran is like one of my favorite films ever made. It's still sitting within my top 25 ever.
Mhm.
And yeah, and for good reason too. I really do think this is Akira Kurosawa's magnum opus. I know it, like you said, like I said, Ethan, like Seven Samurai is known as his most popular film, and the one most people would probably go forward recognizing him for.
Yeah.
But Ran for me was such a pivotal piece of his work because I think what it does best is that it kind of marries two kinds of films that I think Kurosawa makes. He has these like large sweeping Shakespearean epics like Seven Samurai, like Throne of Blood or Hidden Fortress, or I haven't seen it, but Yojimbo. And then you have these more intimate like character story and narrative oriented pieces like Ikaru and Dreams, which
Yes.
both I adore. And I think Ran kind of marries them together, but not in a way that like, I think like when you try and marry two maybe genres or whatever together, it's easy to accidentally like lose what makes those individual genres special. But in Ran, for me, I think he marries them so homogeneously that they feel just as effective as their contemporaries. So like he has like those delicate, intimate moments, like as though like in the movies Ikaru or the giant sweeping epic moments of Seven Samurai. It has this real sense of scope and scale, but also this real sense of intimate character oriented drama, at least to me. And yeah, I think like it just has that real perfect like conglomeration between those two things to make this my favorite of his films. And probably, and yeah, and if we're talking about epicness, like I've never seen a samurai film shot like this. Oftentimes when I think about samurai films, they're usually in black and white,
Yeah.
but this is like colorful as hell.
Yeah.
But it's gorgeous, and it still has that grit and grime that you want in black and white, but it has vibrancy and like this sense of like the world. I don't know. I just think
It
it's
it comes
fantastic.
alive.
Yeah, the images really just feel real to me. I don't know what it is.
I must wonder what it was like seeing Kurosawa's movies in color for the first time, you know? Cuz I don't think he did color films until like the 70s, you know? Um because like he is such a master at black and white and like balancing those two colors that like before seeing his color films you must have thought like how could he top this, you know, because he's such a master at just using these two and like balancing them with backlighting and stuff like that. And then you just see how absolutely crazy he goes with his color films like Dreams, Kakamusha, Ron. um they're all so beautiful. And talk about the scale in Ron, like the that like castle battle sequence where they actually like they built that set and they
It puts Lord of the Rings to shame.
uh I don't know if it puts Return of the King to shame, but
No, it does.
yeah, you think so?
Because they really did it.
They really
and
okay, they really did it. But I mean, there's still some hard work and effort put into like visual effects and stuff like that. But regardless,
But it's all practical. What are you
Brandon's
fucking
a-
doing?
and practical
Brandon's a
is hard,
practical
yeah.
effect
But
purist. He's a purist.
I don't know. For me, with two animation majors, you gotta like. I sort of gained an appreciation for the hard work that goes into making something like that.
Yeah, that's hard work. It's still epic, but this is more epic.
This is more epic.
This is more epic.
Listen, okay. Regardless, I do think
Because
this
it's
is
real.
This movie is epic. Okay, we're not here to discuss scales of epic. We're talking about this one movie and how epic it is. It's epic. Michael.
All right.
Michael, you already said you haven't seen this movie, but you got to see it.
I will see it. I will say that I feel like everyone who I know who has seen both Seven Samurai and Ron has said that like Seven Samurai is good, but like Ron, man, like that's where it's at. So
Okay,
I guess I'm gonna have to sit for 7 hours and watch Akira Kurosawa.
there
And
you go.
maybe, and I don't know what will happen after that to my brain.
You will
It'll be
become
okay.
a samurai. All right, Chris, take us into your second film.
All right. Well, I'm really glad that Brandon was shitting on visual effects because my next movie is all
Whoa.
visual effects.
Uh-oh.
It's a 2009 film directed by James Cameron. It's Avatar.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. I know this movie has like kind of like a lot of people for whatever reason kind of just turned against this movie after it was released. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, this movie's not that good. I don't like aliens. I don't like the blue people. They're scary." But then they go watch Star Wars and they're okay with that shit. And yeah, okay, so yes,
Ethan.
yeah, Ethan, you like
Excuse-
Jar Jar? What's
excuse
wrong
me-
with you?
Excuse me while I fucking watch this movie on my unobtainium PlayStation 4.
Okay, I will say, I will play devil's advocate in the sense of like, yes, some of the film isn't perfect. Unobtainium is the worst name for a material I've ever heard in my life. Like,
Because you can obtain
adamantium
it.
and vibranium is solid. Unobtainium, like really?
No, now you know how rare it is if it's unobtainium.
But and yes, the rest of the film is kind of like basically it's Pocahontas, yeah. But I think what this film is like, what makes this film so epic for me is how it explores like this sense of humanism, what it is to be a human, and through this giant war between a race of people from another planet and humans, and just being able to see like how like these things intersect and how humanity is driven by greed, materialism, and a lack of compassion for the environment. I think that speaks very highly to like issues that we have nowadays, especially with ecology. I think like humans as a species, as time has gone on, especially nowadays, we've become so disconnected from the world around us, and then the plants, nature, animals, and
Other
like
people.
but with and other people, yeah, like we're very selfish species. But I think Avatar kind of posits the idea that we don't need to be like this. Like there's capability to be something so much more meaningful and interconnected and generally peaceful. Um, but like, I don't know. I just think it's so like incredibly rich, vibrant. When this movie came out, no one has seen, factually, no one has seen a movie like this. They invented technology for this movie and are inventing technology for the sequels. It is the second highest grossing film ever made. And yeah, I mean, like, this movie's fucking huge. Like, humans versus a whole other species, and the other species wins because we're on their side. You start to understand that there's like a whole other perspective to being a human that is just like, yeah, humans suck. Like, we're awful. And yeah, I don't know. That's my little rant about Avatar.
Go off. I love it.
But Ethan, sorry,
God.
Brandon, why don't you back me up? Tell me why you like this movie.
I got you. This was the movie for me. This was the movie that got me into movies. Like, the idea that I could, one, criticize movies as well as like write them and make them, because I was interested at one point in writing movies like the next guy who loved movies, right? But I think what spoke to me most about Avatar was like what Chris said. Like, this is a movie that tackles many different things, genre wise, construction wise. It's epic. It like literally falls under like romance and war and drama, and like there's comedy to it. There's a lot to this movie. Not to mention, it's a sci-fi epic about two different planets like warring over each other. One for resources, of course, and the other just for survival. I think that's really poignant. It's another film that tackles the myth of American exceptionalism, but in this case, human exceptionalism, and how we sort of have branded it as this good thing when in fact, it's not. You know, if you're viewing it from a different point of view, your actions are inherently evil. You have basically taken the resources of another planet and utilized it to enrich yourself. And I think that's something that's really fascinating about this movie, aside from just the great visual effects in 3D that there were when I saw this movie. Now, it's not all practical, but that doesn't matter because the visual effects.
Then it's not epic. Then it's not epic. It's not epic. All right.
Unlike any other.
Nope.
No. Go. I'm going off. Shut up.
Wait.
I just think that the visuals in this movie, unlike other movies from 10 or 15 years ago that came out, actually live up to today, really that are all massive. Like, I've watched this movie and I remember being like, wow, 90% of the visual effects shots in this movie still are as great as they were when I saw it for the first time in 2009. And we've seen a lot of great visual effects enhancements since then in film. One more thing I want to mention. I've heard this film has been compared to another epic movie that people talk about from 1990 called Dances with Wolves. I had always thought that to be true, but because I hadn't seen the movie, so I just assumed that everybody was right. And yes, while it has similar messages, I watched it last summer. Dances with Wolves is nothing like that movie.
It's nothing.
I don't know what they're talking about because that movie is structured totally differently. Yes, they have very similar paths in the way that their messages are going, but they are different movies and they don't deserve to be in the same league as each other. Like, I like both movies quite a bit, but like, I think Avatar takes it a step further in a modern sense, whereas Dance with Wolves is very much relegated to the past. Anyway, my rant over.
Brandon,
and
positive rant.
It's just like, you know, have you ever seen a giant Bowie knife wielding mech suit stabbing a dragon that is connected to an alien through a endlessly flourishing, like, shared energy between them?
No.
Pacific Rim.
Have you ever?
Yeah, Pacific
Ethan,
Rim.
answer. Have you ever?
Pacific Rim. Evangelion.
Shut up! All right, Ethan.
All right.
I don't know.
Here's
tell
what
me
I'll
what
say.
you think. Yes.
I can't wait to go on the Flight of Passage ride at Disney World, the Avatar ride.
Yeah, let's go.
Mhm.
Poggers.
That's all I got.
Is that it? Oh, okay.
No, okay. Here, let me break it down for you because I'm gonna probably sound like a hypocrite after I introduce my last film if I don't talk about this film. All right, I love me a good formalist blockbuster. You know, I love spectacle. I love scale. I love filmmakers pushing the limits to see how immersed we can be in cinema. You know, that stuff I love. What I don't love is a formalist blockbuster that pretends like it's something more than that. Okay?
You're a coward.
I think James Cameron is a very pretentious filmmaker, and
Incorrect.
come on. Are you kidding me? Go to the Terminator Genesis press meetings of him saying this is going to be the movie that changes it all. And
You know
stuff
why
like
he
that.
said that?
And
Because
he's
they were
making,
desperate.
He's making 5 more of these. 5.
Yes. I
Nobody
wanna see
cares
that.
about these movies anymore, besides like a couple film people. Okay, nobody cares. People dressed up as avatars once for Halloween, and that's it. All right. I don't know. I rewatched like a few scenes with Brandon the other day as we were testing like the Disney Plus syncing, and
We did not watch any scenes. from
I
that.
did. You didn't.
You're
I
a
did.
lying
I
and a
was watching
coward.
scenes where they were like, where he was
Michael
being
is a
welcome
liar,
to the
you can't
tribe, and they were
trust
like, "Welcome to the tribe," and the arms are like they're patting each other on the back like this and shit. I don't know. Maybe that was the 10% that wasn't as good as you're talking about, Brandon. Like you said, 90% of it is beautiful, but it's an okay movie. I don't know. I saw it once in theaters when it came out with all the hype. I saw it in like the biggest crowd. Forgot about it the next day, sadly. I don't know. It didn't hit me. It didn't hit me.
Ethan, we had such an experience because I left that movie,
Uh-huh.
and a week later, I could speak Navi like halfway. I could speak half of Navi.
What?
I learned the language for a little bit.
Wow.
We
Amazing.
exist, Ethan. We exist. Avatar fans exist. Okay, you can't just stand this.
I'm not saying they don't
They're
exist.
on the
I'm just
same
saying that is awfully presumptuous of James Cameron to say, yeah, I'm going to make 5 more of these. And the same amount of people who went to the last one who don't even talk about it anymore are going to keep going to them. Okay?
They are. Because James Cameron has never made a bad movie.
Yeah. Oh, oof. Buddy. Yes, he has.
Yeah?
Yes, he has.
No, he hasn't.
Michael,
No, he hasn't.
help us out here. Have you seen Avatar?
No, he
You know,
hasn't.
what's your Avatar take?
What's my Avatar take? They were talking about you've never seen a movie like this. That's true. I've actually never seen this movie.
What?
I know.
I mean, you are wearing a blue
I-
shirt,
I-
so there's your kind of blue like
This is
the
a Moreland
characters.
shirt, Chief. I don't know. There's just some movies that, they just kind of fall off the radar. Personally, I'll just be honest. I haven't been like, I don't know. It hasn't like screamed to me like, oh, I gotta watch it. But I definitely will check it out. I mean, James Cameron, he's an epic guy, okay? Both like in the movies he makes and in the existence he has. And also that he just like dives in the ocean and like finds stuff, which is pretty epic if I gotta be honest. I also heard a story once that like on the set of Avatar that like he was like nobody film anything, and then he saw someone with filming something with one of their iPhones, so he just took their phone and like nailed it to the wall and said, "This is what's gonna happen if I catch you filming this again." I don't know if that's true, but I'm gonna be honest, that is pretty epic.
That's
So,
epic.
I guess I have to.
Typical
I
Tom
have to-
Cruise rant.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. We love.
Avatar: The Last Airbender now.
That's pretty.
That's
epic.
That's
Yeah.
pretty epic.
I've
That's
only
pretty
seen the
epic.
first 4 episodes of that show.
Well, watch more.
It's pretty epic.
It's pretty epic.
Okay.
Gotta say. All right. Geez, this is gonna be quite an epic episode of Stack because we're already an hour in and we're going into our 3rd round here. So, Michael, kick us off with your last epic movie.
Okay. I was kind of bouncing between a few things, but I'm settled on this because it's the one I've seen recently, and it really floored me away. And it kind of covers a lot of what I like to see in movies, personally. And I just think it's so well done in almost every way. And it's a movie from the great nation of Japan. It's 1961, I think, and it's The Human Condition Part 3.
Double stack.
Are you serious?
Oh wow!
Double
Very sweet for
stack?
someone to-
Let's fucking go.
Holy shit.
Let's go.
All right.
I was gonna do the whole
This-
series, but part 3 is the best one, so go off.
This movie, man, I watched it recently, and I watched the whole trilogy like over the course of like a week or something like that. And it calls itself the human condition, which is a very big statement to make. But goddamn, like it does cover the human condition. It covered I can't what an incredible protagonist for a movie. Kaji is such a fascinating character, and the arc that you see him go throughout the course of the 3 films, even in that movie itself, is so grand. And it just like that's kind of what I love about movies that go that long, is that you get to see characters take that journey. You have the time to explore them and watch them change and grow over time. This movie covers, I guess you could say, a pacifist. I think in the description it says he's a socialist. I don't know if it's true. Who is living in World War II Japan. He's not super happy about the idea of the war and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's human. What is he gonna do? This is an authoritarian regime, and there's not much he can do. And you just kind of see him like, throughout the film, this contrast throughout the 3 films, especially the last one, this contrast between what he believes are his morals and his ideals, and like what the reality of the situation asks himself. And I really think that what I love about movies like this is that it's a situation where it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think that kind of filmmaking and writing is really important, because it's like, as much as I enjoy like a movie like Star Wars, where it's like clear good and clear bad, in the real world, in most situations, you don't get that. Right. Most of the time you're kind of screwed no matter what you do. And I think having characters make those decisions, especially in like harrowing situations that this movie presents itself, because it does take place in the real event of World War II. I think that is just, I think it says so much about characters and about the world and about the human condition. And also it's like incredibly well shot and well acted and stuff. My little only gripe is that when I was watching it, like the quality kept dropping, but that's more Canopy's fault than anything else. So yeah, it's a really great movie. And yeah, I really enjoy it.
Brandon.
This is a masterpiece. I was going to pick all 3 because the first and third part are amazing. The second part is also really good, but the first and third part are like some of the best cinema I've ever seen in my life.
Can you explain to like what this is? Like,
Yeah,
what
I-
is the Human Condition
I have
trilogy?
no-
I keep seeing
Yeah,
it. I
what
just
is it
see the
about?
long movies from Japan.
So-
I don't know what it is.
Long movie.
Kaji is your main character, and essentially he is like Andrew Garfield's character in Hacksaw Ridge. He's a conscientious objector to the war, but in comparison to his character, he is sentenced to a work camp where he works for the government so that he can avoid war service, essentially. So they have a really short patience with him at that war camp. And essentially, it's about his journey from being a conscientious objector to being somebody who is forced to challenge his own ideals throughout all 3 movies. So there are aspects of his life that are very clean and cleanly when you begin with him. But as like life goes on, he becomes a more grimy character. And the third one is the best at
It's the
exploring. Yeah, it's the grimiest because he really gets in the dirty. His character in this movie goes through the ringer. You see the inside of this guy's mind, essentially, and it's the most abstract of all of them, but also the most concrete, because there are things in this, like especially the last 10 or 20 minutes of the movie, that it's basically very silent and very devoted to who Kaji is. And that is attributed best to the lead's performance, Tatsuya Nakadai, who's in a bunch of Kurosawa films as well. I think he's also in Harakiri by Kobayashi as well.
Oh, I love this dude. Yeah.
So he is amazing. He is unrecognizable by the end of the trilogy. In that 9.5 hour, almost 10-hour journey you go in with him is pretty epic, notably. It's yeah, because it's like through time. It's not only epic in scale, because of course every World War II or any war film scale is massive. But because this film spans a period of, I think, 10 to 20 years, you really get to know the dude, and you really get to know the people around him. And in that sense, you really care for him, and you grow to care for his situation, and you're really worried for him all the time. And to see, like Michael said, confront the his ideology is some of the most fascinating thing you'll ever see in cinema.
Wow.
And
Dang.
the third movie is very heartbreaking towards the end.
Oh,
it is a very rough
1000%.
one.
Well, I've been meaning to watch these for a while, so I feel like once the dust is settled in my life right now, and like I've graduated, I have no other work to worry about. I feel like I just gotta pummel through these 3 films. How many hours is it like total, the trilogy?
9 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay, not as bad.
That's
as
pretty
I
epic.
thought. That's pretty epic.
It is pretty epic.
Yeah. Well, I gotta see him, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, like, kind of like you, Ethan, I've only ever heard about this movie. I remember when, Brandon, did you watch this over the summer, like last summer?
I don't remember if it was last summer or the winter before that, because it was definitely during a break.
Yeah.
I did not watch this movie during school.
Yeah, I definitely remember, like, I think I was in Hong Kong at the time, and I saw, like, them popping up, the reviews popping up on my letterbox, and being like, oh, dang, Brandon's really enjoying this trilogy.
Yeah,
And that's all I ever interpreted. Because I was like, and also, yeah, it looks like it has a cool title.
You watched it over the summer, Brandon.
I did.
June 20th,
I watched a lot of movies.
2020 is when you finished it.
Ethan knows more about you than you know about yourself.
I'm a flipping mastermind. I know your whole life.
Get out of my head.
Yeah, but I've always kind of just been like, oh, like that looks like really cool. I have no idea what this movie's about. But like the two of you giving it like, all damn near perfect scores are like, that's endorsement enough that I need. So eventually, yeah, let's do it.
Eventually, Chris and I will experience the human condition.
Next
This
movie night?
movie is the
Just kidding.
definition of we live in a society.
Which
Better than
brings
Well,
me
I'm
to
glad you
my
said that,
next
'cause
film,
my next
Joker.
No. Please, God, no.
Now that movie.
But interestingly, my next film is not Joker, but it's a DC movie.
Oh fuck, I know what this is.
Oh man.
I was talking about how I didn't want to sound like a hypocrite because I love my formalist cinema. I love my batshit crazy, insano cinema. Patrick H. Willems titles it Gonzo cinema, which I love that term because this movie truly is Gonzo in terms of its spectacle and world building, and honestly, it's Shakespearean story.
Don't you dare.
It's a 2018 film directed by
Oh,
James
boomer.
Wan. It's Aquaman, baby. Bum 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 bum. I was born. This
I'm about to leave this room.
go
right now.
bye. See ya. You already talked about your films. You can leave if you
I'm about
want.
to end this whole man's career.
Aquaman, directed by James Wan, is the most Aquaman movie you could ever make. All right, it may
No way.
not be a movie, okay, but it's an Aquaman movie. All right, you get
It's not a movie.
get fucking Julie
It is
Andrews
epic.
voicing a sea monster goddess, this giant Cthulhu-like creature. You get an octopus playing the fucking drums in live action. You get Orm, the ocean master. You get Patrick Wilson saying, "I am the ocean master." It's so radical. The first time I saw this movie, I'm not joking. When that third act started going and that giant battle between the crab people and the Atlanteans and the sharks and the weird dinosaur thing the ocean master's riding in the lava, I got a nosebleed. I couldn't take it. I literally, my nose started bleeding. There was blood all over my popcorn that I had in my popcorn bowl. And I was like, oh God, this is amazing. And Jason Momoa, he knows what kind of movie he's in, so he hams it up. He is just like this weird surfer bro who inherits this kingdom. He's like, all right, here we go. Woo! And it's so insane. It's completely formalist. It focuses nothing on story. The story is ridiculous. The characters characters are ridiculous. The performances can be lame. The comedy is fucking for kids, you know. But I can't help but envelop myself like being hit by a tsunami caused by the Ocean Master. By this movie, Chris just made an origami Aquaman logo. That's insane. But this movie, it blows me out of the water. Can I put more water metaphors in this my rant? And here's
got
time
one word
for
for
Ethan
you.
rant. What?
Pathetic.
Pathetic. All right, Chris,
All right.
you were teamed up with Brandon against me. Let's team up against him.
We've talked about how, like, Ethan and I will. Okay, I swear, Ethan, that inner term last time was like you and I connected very deeply,
Yeah.
and especially over Aquaman for some reason. Aquaman is one of those movies for me that, like, I remember watching and just being like, I remember seeing it with my friends in Hong Kong and just being kind of like so taken aback by how bonkers this movie is. Like, the visual effects, obviously, absolutely insane. The script writing, ridiculous. Everything is just off the wall the entire movie. And yeah, it's dumb as shit, but it knows it.
Yes,
It absolutely knows it.
owns
I think James Wan is smart in the sense of, like, he knows exactly what kind of movie he's making and what kind of market he's going for. So he is completely and immeasurably just like in love with the content. I think he's really just like giving it his all and just kind of like, fuck it, we're having a fun time. Let's make a dumb movie and like make people happy and let's have fun. And I think they do that beautifully. Yes, the movie isn't some Shakespearean amazing piece of narrative cinema.
No, it's not
but
the
it's
human
like-
condition. It's not
Yeah,
the Atlantean
it's
condition.
no human condition.
It's
Okay.
the Atlantic condition.
Ethan, I literally came this close to picking this movie as well, but I decided to save it for a different stack
Nah!
Because it's not a good movie.
Shut up.
because it's a great movie.
Yes.
So much fighting.
And I vibe with it. It's fun. Ethan, you and I really need to watch this movie hammered together.
Please.
That's the only way you can watch it.
Not
No,
true.
I watched it sober. It was a lot of fun with my friends. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a defender of this movie. I think it knows it's having fun. I think it's in the same vein as like a Fast and Furious movie. So yeah, have fun with it. It's a good time. Just don't take life so seriously. It's no human condition.
Okay, before Brandon says his piece, Michael, what do you think about Aquaman? What's your Aquaman take?
I haven't seen Aquaman.
You haven't seen Aquaman?
Oh, really?
Dude, when we get those vaccines, we're getting fucking blasted and we're watching Aquaman, all right?
I mean, you sold it better than I've sold a single movie in this whole discussion. So
I disagree.
I'll give you that.
All right, Brandon. Say your piece.
Give us your
Oh
spiel.
boy. Oh boy.
How,
Oh boy.
wait,
oh
how
boy,
many
oh
times
boy,
have
oh
you seen
boy.
this movie, Brandon?
I've seen it once, and that's all I need to see it. Because
I've
this
seen
movie's
it 5
trash.
times.
That's disappointing because I know you like better cinema.
Brandon, I want to lock you in a room with James Wan one day and just see
Yes!
what
Oh,
happens.
I love James Wan. I just hate Aquaman. This movie's stupid. I don't know.
This movie's stupid.
Every choice in this movie is terrible. I can't. Like with the music choice, what were they fucking?
It's hilarious.
It's bonkers. That's what's so funny about it.
They
Yeah.
put Pitbull in this movie.
Dude,
It's so funny.
What I look for is consistency, right? Consistency in cinema is really important to me. At least with the early DC films, they were consistent in a tone and story that I cared about.
That doesn't matter.
You know?
That the earlier DC films
it doesn't matter.
This is its
Okay,
own
so then nothing
thing.
matters. Okay, so nothing.
Yes, nothing matters. I'm a
Okay,
fucking nihilist. Yes, nothing matters. You're preaching to the choir.
That's
That is
pathetic.
absolutely pathetic. Here's the thing that's so disappointing about Aquaman. It's unfunny, laughable because it doesn't need to be.
Wait, so it's unfunny,
tra-
but it's laughable. It's unfunny,
Yeah,
but it's laughable. So it's not funny, but
Yes.
it's laughable. It's,
Here,
you don't think you're not
let
laughing,
me
but you're
speak.
also laughing.
Let me fucking speak. You hillbilly. I hate you.
You hillbilly.
You are a child. I hate you.
I make
Give me your
50K.
phone.
I make 500K a year. I live in a fucking penthouse. You live on a
I
hill.
own you.
You live
Sit
with
down.
cows and pigs on a farm. You are a
before
fucking
me,
hillbilly.
You fucking child.
It's unfunny when it tries to be funny, but it's laughable because of the use of slow motion in this movie. It does not need to be there. Yeah. Whenever there's a cut, they do not even the real slow motion, like fake slow motion, where it looks like they slowed it down in post and they didn't mean to do it, and it's laughable. Manta, terrible. Whatever. What is he doing there? He does not matter. Patrick Wilson, terrible villain. I love Patrick Wilson. It shouldn't be that hard for me to like him, you know? What else is there to say about this movie? Willem Dafoe's okay. You know, he's a good choice.
All right.
But
I'll
I
take
just
that.
the CGI is terrible.
What?
It doesn't belong in the movie. It's
It
trash.
doesn't belong.
It looks garbage.
Do you want
It
them
looks-
to actually send Jason Momoa to be actually swimming in the ocean, like paddling? How else could
but
they do
here's
it?
the thing. The third act in this movie does not get me engaged. It's not realistic because there's not enough practicality behind it at all.
It's animated. It's so cool. It's a fucking expose.
Oh,
on
animated. I didn't know I
Go,
wanted to see an
go.
animated movie
What
when
the
I walked
fuck?
into a live action Aquaman movie.
Talk about
Huh,
consistency.
that's kinda
Go back to
crazy.
everything you just said about Avatar and being all
Avatar
animated.
is not. No, Avatar uses more practical effects than Aquaman ever would.
No, go to the sets.
You're trash.
That whole Italian village was all they built. That whole fucking village in Australia. I
Oh,
saw
the
it.
Italian village.
Yes.
I thought we were talking about the stuff that's underwater.
How could
and
they do
actually
that? How
matters.
could they do that? All right, they built those fucking floating islands in Avatar that they flew through. Yeah,
Well, at least make it look better than that.
It's
At least
great.
Make it actually
It's
look
great.
realistic.
It's great.
It looks shit.
You look
It looks
shit.
fake.
take off that
Everything-
denim jacket. You look
You
shit.
look shit.
Everything in Aquaman looks unauthentic. It does not nothing looks real. Nothing looks real
my
enough
God.
even for CG. It's bad CG.
No.
That's what I'm trying to get at
No
here.
way.
At least with Avatar, it's great CG.
No.
Like I can't tell sometimes you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. Sometimes you can. But that's where the 10% of the bad pops in. I would say 90% of the effects in Aquaman are terrible. There you go. In terms of anything else about this movie,
I muted him.
it's not a
You muted
You
him.
muted me, you piece of shit.
Now you're not muted. You're not muted.
Okay, no, I'm not muted.
No.
Okay, I don't get why people like this movie. I really don't. Like, I don't like the story. I hate the casting choice of Julie Andrews as the Kraken. What the hell is that?
It's funny.
It's hilarious.
Release the Kraken.
Stick with the tone. Stick with the tone.
They
Make
establish a
something
ridiculous
interesting.
Stick with the
I don't
tone.
care.
Yes, they
I
are
do not
sticking.
care.
They're sticking with the same tone as them walking out of the ocean with Pitbull. That's fucking ridiculous. So they're like, how can we make this more ridiculous? I know. We'll have Mary Poppins voice a fucking 3,000 story tall fucking monster that lives beneath the center of the earth.
Okay, Michael.
Oh my god.
This is how you know how stupid this fucking movie is. The way they're describing it.
But it sounds crazy, right? It sounds amazing.
If you like bad movies,
Oh, you got me good. All right. That.
and I'm not even a DC hater. I'll defend Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, you're just a hater.
Wonder
Oh
Woman
my
2.
god.
The first one. All right, I'm out. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that we beat you. Haha. No.
You didn't beat me.
All I'm
very
saying is
passionate
you've seen
about-
this movie once. I know what I'm picking for my next movie night. We're getting fucking blasted, and we're going to Atlantis, baby. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
And Michael-
I'm in for that.
I gotta watch this movie with you too and show you the insanity of Aquaman.
I'm right. I mean, my favorite Aquaman is Joe DiMaggio, but I'll give Jason Momoa.
Oh, he's great from Batman: The Brave and the Bold. Love him.
John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
My man.
All right, Chris.
There's a deep cut for you.
Chris,
Well,
let's finish this epic movie saga and end with yours.
I'm really glad, Ethan, that you said Aquaman right before mine, and that you started Fast and Furious, because I'm doing
Oh yes.
Furious 7, directed by James Wan as well. This guy's fucking epic. Yeah. So this movie came out in 2015.
At least he earned it.
Yeah, this movie came out in 2015, directed by James Wan, and has, your same the Fast crew, as always, Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, and then like Gal Gadot joins the crew as well, and so yeah, and like Han is not in this one, which is the one that's I fucking hate this movie now. Never mind. No, Han is
Take it
easily
back, I repeal.
Han is the best part of the Furious movies, but I do think this one is like one of their most like epic ones because I think it's the most it had other than I don't know it has it fuck
Too epic to put into
Furious-
words.
Yeah, Fast and the Furious 8 has crazier scope and scale because they're literally stopping a nuke. But in this one, there's more of an emotional stake because it's more personal.
Mm.
And I think that's what makes it, it's all, as we know, it's all about the family with the Fast and Furious franchise. And I think Furious 7 is kind of that part, like, is where the family theme kind of becomes a key part, like the key pivotal part of the story. You have Jason Statham playing Deckard Shaw, who is just the most like ruthless guy, within this franchise at least. Yes, and of course the stunts are absolutely insane. They literally drive a car through 2 skyscrapers.
Whoa.
Damn.
Tell me tell me another movie where you've seen that.
I've seen
But a car?
Oh no!
Oh, wow!
God!
Ethan!
Oh God!
Oh no! Oh, I get.
Yeah, but Fast 7, insane stunts, incredible, like just like the most balls to the wall shit ever. Again, Ethan, James Wan knows exactly what kind of movie he's making. I think maybe he got Aquaman because people realized like this guy can do action and have fun with it. And I think that's why DC was like, hey, let's get the guy who did Fast 7. And yeah, I think they do a great job. Of course, it's also the big send-off for Paul Walker, who tragically died. And I know, like, is Fast and Furious, like, was this movie really big in the States when it came out?
Yes.
This was unintentionally epic because there are definitely epic things about Furious 7. Reasons why it's better than Aquaman, because they have established that hardcore tone that you're going for, that epic Mission Impossible like nature by now, right? And the reason why it was so epic is because everybody went to see it because of Paul Walker.
Yeah.
So
And-
it was like that made it epic.
Yeah, and like I remember when this movie came out back home for me in Hong Kong, it was such a big thing. Like it was an Avengers level event to like go to the movies and see this movie because like everyone loves Fast and Furious back home. Everyone talks about like, oh, like let's go see like the new Fast and Furious movie. I want to see those new cars and everything and like all that. And like this movie, I think dials it. It was already starting to get ridiculous, but Fast 7 and then leading into Fast 8 is when it starts getting ridiculous. Ethan, I'm willing to bet you real money.
Yeah.
But that by Fast 10 will be in space.
Okay.
I genuinely think that's going to happen.
The last
I don't
movie
doubt
will be in
it.
space.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. Ethan,
I
hope
you
it
just,
is.
you just watched Fast 1.
Yeah.
And they're still just doing street racing.
Yeah. Literally 10 minutes before we started this podcast, I finished my first Fast and the Furious movie with the original 2001 film. And I am just so dumbfounded how this franchise got to there because this first film is just like, it's a street racing cop drama. Like that's all it is really, with just like lots of 90s flair, even though it's a 2001 film, but like lots of 90s flair and that high energy and like that techno beat, And I'm like,
Yeah.
how are they gonna fucking race a submarine like 7 films later than this? So I'm excited to
Dude,
see how this franchise
don't
goes.
ask questions.
I'm not gonna.
It's
I can say the same thing to you, Brandon, when you watch Aquaman.
Okay, but guarantee me this: the DC New 52 comic run, right? They were not setting up Aquaman to be a fucking character that's so silly. They were setting him up to be serious, just like the other movies. I'm gonna pop this bottle over your fucking head.
I muted you for most of that, by the way.
That's disappointing because you didn't hear
No.
the best part of that
Censorship.
sentence.
I'll hear
Big
it. I'll hear it
tax
when I'm
censorship.
editing it because you're backup recording. All right. Well, there are all of our films, all of our epic movies, certifiably epic movies. So before we get to hashing out on what should be on this final stack, let's just run down each of our films. Michael, do you want to start us off with your 3 films?
Yes. My 3 films. The first one is Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone. It's a gangster epic with Robert De Niro and playing a Jew, so it's pretty cool. The second one is 1967's David Mr. The Big Epic Leans, Lawrence of Arabia. Big desert drama, big war movie, fun time. And then the final one is The Human Condition Part 3 by Masaki, I think, Kobayashi, and it's a pretty good movie, pretty epic, pretty big, pretty long.
All right. My 3 films are Akira Kurosawa's 7 Samurai, and then Spike Lee's Malcolm X, and of course, James Wan's Aquaman. Brandon?
I had Gone with the Wind, and The Human
Why do you
Condition.
never do them in order?
Because I'm against the rules.
Clearly.
He's a rebel.
This is why
He's
I
a
mute
maverick.
you, you rebel.
I'm a maverick.
Fucking conform. I hate you. All right, Chris, when you're...
That's why you'll never win.
And my films are Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, Avatar, and Fast and Furious 7.
Okay.
Well, we know Human Condition's gonna
Human
be on there,
Condition is a
because
lock, so...
That's gonna be.
I would love to get either Star Wars Episode 3 or Avatar in.
I prefer Avatar personally. I love that movie.
Yeah, I guess it's like, how do we interpret epic? Because like, if we're talking specifically general scope, Star Wars Episode 3 is a whole galaxy, and Avatar is 2 planets. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's how
but
we wanna
Avatar
go
was a
about
film
this.
that had never been done before.
That's true.
Like that movie utilized motion capture in a way that I don't think, or visual effects for that matter, in a way that I don't think we'd seen before, and it was so realistic. Like it was an event.
I can't.
But have you heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Exactly.
I have. It's a good tale. But that's,
Honestly, I'm leaning towards Revenge of the Sith. I think it's generally more epic.
Here's my pitch. You ready?
yeah,
you ready
pitch.
for this? All right.
oh god.
So Human Condition, that's a lock. I am going to concede all of my films if we can put Lawrence of Arabia on this list. Because I think that is truly an epic film that, like, I don't think there's any better category of any stacked episode that we could do to put Lawrence of Arabia than this one, you know?
I will accept
I-
that.
And
I'll
then
accept that.
I'll put Revenge of the Sith. I would rather have Revenge of the Sith over Avatar because...
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
concede that you won't put Aquaman on this damn list,
Though, I gotta say, if we put Aquaman on this
Just,
list, we'll never talk about it again.
No, I want to hear every episode of Stack to be about Aquaman.
All right.
this will be a
Well-
debate till the end of time.
Okay, how about actually yes, let's withhold. All right, Chris. Chris just sent me a text. Let's withhold Aquaman until we show it to Brandon again.
They're strategizing. I hate it.
And Chris and I, we will change his mind on this movie.
Guys,
we will.
it's
One
not
day-
gonna
one
happen.
day we
It's
will.
gonna happen.
It's gonna
Listen,
happen.
I was as sober as I've ever been watching that movie.
Then you
What-
don't need to be so.
My mind clear.
I was as clear as I've ever been during one of the movies that I've disliked that you guys have liked a lot more than I have. So this
That
is,
says
this is
something
what-
wrong about you.
I think that says a lot better about me than you.
No, you.
You.
Fuck you.
You.
All right. Well, shall we run down
Me.
the final stack?
Wait, let's
Me,
figure out
me,
an
me.
order here. So we have Revenge of the Sith, Lawrence of Arabia, and The Human Condition, right?
That's a
It's a weird, it's a really
That's
weird
that's-
list, but they're epic movies. What can I say? What do you think? Should Lawrence of Arabia kick this off? What do you think?
which has the best ending.
I don't. Does Human
I've only
Condition?
seen one.
No,
Gonna
well,
be-
it's got a great ending, but I don't know if you want to end on that.
No, okay. I think Lawrence of Arabia, The Human Condition, and then Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. you got to end with that big bang. You know, the end
The
of Avengers
galaxy
hit. That's pretty
divided.
big.
It's pretty pog. Yeah, it's pretty pog. I agree
Okay,
with that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All kind of sad endings when you think about it.
That's true.
That's epic, man.
That's the epic. That's just being epic, dude.
That's the epic way.
That's the epic way. All right, well then let's run down
Our unofficial epic trilogy.
let's run down Stack's official epic movie 3-film stack. Michael, you want to kick us off with our first epic movie?
Yes, the first one is 1967's David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia. It's about the real life character of Lawrence of Arabia, who helped fight with who helped unite the Arab tribes in Saudi Arabia to fight off the Ottoman Empire in World War One, and it's a pretty cool movie. It's pretty cool.
Hell,
It's pretty epic.
yes. Man, Brandon.
Yeah.
What's it?
Our number
yeah,
two.
what's the same film?
Is a follow-up, a World War II film about a conscientious objector who turns his life around, per se, or learns his ways and learns that his ideology sometimes isn't always going to stick around. It's the human condition. But specifically, part 3.
Chris, finish it up here.
And our final film is a 2005 film directed by George Lucas in a galaxy far, far away. It is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, a story of betrayal, of family, of politics, of friendship, and the fall of the galaxy and the rise of the Empire.
And there you have it,
Bang.
everyone. Those are
They're all war movies.
our war epic movies. You know, war's pretty epic, I gotta say. I'd like to thank our guest Michael for coming on and having a blast with us this episode. Oh my god, we've had some pretty iconic moments.
The Aquaman yelling. was
I
really
think
funny.
the Aquaman debate will be one for the ages. Michael, thank you for coming on, man. Is there anything you wanna plug or drop? You know, share with our audience about you or anything?
Sure. I just want to point out
Yeah.
that this is quite amusing because twice in this podcast, you guys were fighting over over a movie very passionately, and I was just sitting there being like, I haven't seen it, but it seems cool. Which was a very fun experience.
You're almost like a puppet master.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Because you made
Pulling
us
the
fight
strings,
over these
baby.
because this is your topic. You have no stakes in the game.
Hey, I'm trying to help you guys. The more conflict, the better the story.
That's
What
true.
can I say?
And that's why you're a
Wanna make
screenwriter,
stat.
my dude.
Number one. That's true.
But yeah,
That's it. That's all I have to say.
I'll link your letterbox and your Twitter so people can see your good movie takes and politics takes. You know, you're a very smart guy.
Thank
You got good witty things to say. And that's why you're a screenwriter, my friend. All right, and that'll do it for this epic episode of Stacked. Everyone, thank you for listening. Remember, share, like, comment, subscribe, rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Tell us what your favorite epic movies are. What are movies that you think are epic that we just didn't talk about? Let us know about it. All right, tell us about it. And yeah.
Gabagoo.
Gabagoo.
Have a good one.
Shalom, shalom.